Good afternoon. Welcome back to Cozy Up and Pay Attention, the Parent Edition. I'm very proud to say this is our second season. And what we do here is we bring folks on or parents who are proud of doing a great job and giving us more responsible adults. So I'm sorry, I had to turn my phone off. I have a fabulous guest, another fabulous coming on for your listening pleasure and viewing pleasure. If you would please take a deep breath. Exhale. We'll be right back.
Cozy Stone is a multi-talented comedian extraordinaire who has a real lust for life. She also combines humor and motivation, where she is known as a humorvational speaker. Her youthful ways and positive light make her a beacon for those of all ages. Cozy has lived a remarkable life that has paved the way for so many. She had the longest running open mic venue of 11 years at Tommy Rockers in Vegas, called Cozy's Comedy Corner, through which she introduced many up-and-coming comedians. Before going into comedy, she was one of the first female personal trainers and one of the top fitness trainers in the world. She has trained many greats such as Billie Jean King, Roberta Flack, Andrew Young, Ed Bradley, CCH Pounder, Al Pacino, and Earl Monroe. As a former competitive bodybuilder, she also owned a bodybuilding gym for women over 40 in Los Angeles for several years. She has worked in top positions for HBO, Playboy, and Tony Robbins. She also enjoys volunteer work, dedicating time to the New York Foundling Hospital and babies with AIDS. Cozy Stone has a message that shouldn't be missed.
Give me my guest, Miss Dana. Hello, Miss Ludlow. How are you?
Hi, I'm great, Cozy. How are you doing?
I am wonderful. Before you and I get started, I always like to say to my guest, this show is focusing on what we know is that parents do not come with a manual. There is no such thing as a perfect parent. We also know that we don't do any parent shaming on this show. We talk about the sacrifice, the love, and the compromise that parents so far, well, parents, men and women, of dads and moms, have given to their children to, again, pretty much get them out of their house. So, Cristin, I'd like to start to show off with your background. It gives the audience and myself an idea of your humble beginnings, and then we'll bring you forward. So, right now, would you be kind enough to tell us where were your mother and father born, and how old were they when they had their first child?
That's a great question. So my father was born in Bangkok, Thailand, and his mother met my step-grandpa, and he was in the army, so they got married, and he brought my father and my grandmother back to the United States with him. And then my mother was born in Kansas City, in Kansas. And so they, moved a lot of places in their lives, ended up both in Las Vegas, going to the same church. And so they met and, of course, fell in love, but very young. When I was born, my mom had just turned 18. She's like 18 for 2 months, and I was born. And then my father was 20.
So you had young parents.
Yes.
Thailand, Kansas City, they met in the church. Here, you are born and raised in Vegas, person?
I am a native. How scary is that?
I don't know what one looks like, don't get me wrong, but whatever it's worth, I wouldn't have noticed anybody's born and raised in Vegas.
Right.
Somebody has, right? And somebody has to be. But that's even more. You've been here your whole life. How old were you when you had your first child?
I was 24 years old when I had my first.
Okay. And where did you meet was he your husband? Mm-hmm. Where did you meet the father of your child? And yes, did you, because I know, you've got my husband now, but this is your second marriage.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where did you meet your first husband?
My first husband, we met in college. I met him my freshman year. He was a sophomore. We very quickly became best friends. And then within less than a year, we were pretty seriously dating. So we dated all the way through college, and I graduated from college in May. We got married in June, and I was pregnant in July. So it all happened really, really quickly. Yeah.
So you were what, 19?
20. Well, I was 18 when I met him. I was 24 when I got pregnant.
All right. So to make sure I'm listening and hearing the numbers correctly, you dated through college. So you knew each other a good 4 years before you got married.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I got pregnant when I was 23, had him when I was 24. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. But you knew him at least 4 years or so.
Oh, yeah. We were together for many years before we got married. Yeah, 4 years.
Was your pregnancy planned or unplanned?
It was not planned in the sense of like we were trying. We just weren't preventing. We were okay either way. Like whatever happened.
But by this time you're married.
Yeah, because we were married. And
okay,
yeah.
I call that planned, Cristin.
Planned. Yes, it was planned.
Okay, I call that planned. So I like to ask my guests, especially my female guests, when you met this gentleman, you're with him again 4 years, you obviously know enough about him. Was it his brains, his brawn, or his brains, brawns, or his beauty that attracted you to him?
Well, even though he was very smart, it was more his personality. Like I just had so much fun with him. Still, I mean, we were together for 11 years and we maybe fought 5 times in those 11 years. We just were very, very compatible and got along really, really well. And I had so much fun with him. So it was easy for me to think of him as a partner. Do you know what I mean?
Right. So not only did you think of him as a partner, you thought of him as a husband, you thought of him of the father of your child or children. What part of his personality did you want, his character, his morals, did you want to see in your child?
He's very responsible. Like he likes the structure and the routine, and he's just very responsible, not very impulsive at all. And I'm the exact opposite. Like I'm more like a free spirit, fun loving, whatever happens, like just let it be. Everything's great. And so those were characteristics of him that I really respected. And I knew he was going to be a great father and pass that on to our children as well. And I was excited about that.
Okay. This question I was supposed to ask first, but doesn't matter. When you got the news, again, you're married, you've got a planned pregnancy, you're starting your family. Even with that in mind, I always like to ask women, when you heard the word, here's a question I get to ask. When you found out you were pregnant, was it by the stick or was it by a doctor?
The stick.
I'm learning about the stick because they didn't have sticks.
Really?
No. I'm going to remember how old I am. No. You went to the doctor. And you missed your period, so that was another clue. So that was the big clue. So you found out you were pregnant. Did you feel fear or fantasy?
Yes. I was really excited about it, but also I was really afraid just because I didn't know what it was all going to be like. Like it was just the unknown of it all, like what it was going to feel like and how I was going to feel and giving birth and all of that type of stuff. That stuff was fear. I was very fearful of that. But at the same time, I was really excited to have a baby. So it was kind of like overrode my fear, just kind of didn't really think about it as much, even though I was very afraid and nervous.
Where did he grow up? What part of the country?
He was from Central California, a little tiny like farming town there.
Okay. So your parents, baby's born, you guys are doing this project. It's a project. What was different? What did you both have that was different that you had to meld together?
Pretty much everything. Like I said, he was very structured, routine, like expects things done in a certain way, in a certain time, structured. And I was very just living by the seat of my pants. And so it was really great for both of us because it helped him to relax and have more fun and be less rigid. And it also helped me have more structure in my life. It really was a great partnership. Like we worked well together.
Was he a Virgo?
He's a Taurus.
Okay, moving on, Cozy. You had your kids here, your parents lived here, so you did have a support system to help you with these new learnings.
Yeah,
Yes?
and all my brothers and sisters are here. My mom and dad are here. Yeah.
Okay. Again, let's go back one step back. You're pregnant, you planned it, you're married, the excitement, the fear. What were 3 things that you considered? So now you're pregnant, all right? Baby's here. What were 3 things you considered before giving birth? Is baby's going to pop out of there? 3 things that went through your mind.
I would have to think about that because all I remember thinking is get this out of me. And I was trying everything. Like I was looking it up, like bouncing on the bouncy ball, eating pineapple, raspberry. I was just done. I was not very good at pregnancy. Like, don't get me wrong. I had great pregnancies and I was healthy and the babies were healthy and everything. But I was just like, I'm very impatient. So I was kind of over it right around 26 weeks or so. Both times I was like, I am done. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And so I just remember thinking, just get it out. I just want it out because it was very strange for me. Wow. I know that's probably not the answer that most people get.
Listen, this is your answer, and every answer is the correct answer. It's not a comparison show of that parent did that parent. I'm interviewing you, and I want to know how you felt. Because believe it or not, there are other women watching the show, will watch the show, and they relate. So I want to hear how you felt.
Yeah, and I just remember thinking, like, you know, every time they would move and stuff, how, like, it was just so strange to me. Like there's a human being inside my body. And it was just so weird. And so every time the babies would move and stuff, it was such a strange sensation. And so I just remember thinking like, okay, I'm done. I just want to hold the baby outside of me.
Okay. And I would imagine, so you gave birth 3 times?
Twice. Yeah.
Okay.
I was pregnant 3 times. I had 1 miscarriage in between the 2.
Okay. But for the ones that you brought into the world, you went full term, of course, because they're saying we're not giving you any less weeks. Is that true?
Well, the first one tried coming out at 28 weeks, and they did everything to stop the pregnancy or to stop the labor, and then put me on bed rest and for a couple weeks. I ended up having him at 32 weeks. So he came pretty early.
So I also like to ask the parents, as we are all being raised by our parents, there are words of wisdom. We now know they're words of wisdom that they would say to us as we're growing up. And after a while, you say, oh my God, if I've heard it once, I've heard it 1,000 times. Can you think of 1 or 2 things that your parents said to you that you now say to your kids?
Yeah, and the first one is just so basic, but it's the trust me one. Because when you're a kid, it's not about questioning authority as much as it is wanting to understand why. When you challenge or when you push back or whatever it may be, it's more of a discovery learning thing. And my parents, when I would ask questions and stuff, they would always say, like, trust me, just trust me. And I didn't understand until I was a parent that there were so much more that they knew that I just in certain moments, don't just be quiet and just trust and then ask the questions later. Right. And so that's something. And another thing that I'm really grateful for, and I really do believe it has dramatically affected my relationship with my own parents and my relationship with my children, is my parents never tried to control me. like they always knew I'm my own human being. And so they would give me suggestions and they would like recommend things to me, but they weren't like I had to do it their way or else. And they would always rationalize things with me and explain. And, I had a very strong understanding of choices and consequences. And you could do, you're not a prisoner here. Like you're free to go whenever you want, but there will be consequences for that. You don't like these rules. I'm not holding you here against your will. You're free. You could go anywhere you want, whenever you want. But this, and this will be what you have to deal with. So you have to make a choice. Will you live by these rules or under these guidelines, or you can go see if you can make it out there with me at like 12 years old, questioning things. And so I've been that same way with my children of like, you're your own being. Like, I'm not here to control you. I'm not here to make you be something that I want you to be. I'm just here to have a relationship with you and go through this journey together. I have more time, so I have a little bit of a clearer understanding of everything. But one thing that fascinates me about my children, especially, is I feel like they're just so much more advanced. Like the thoughts that they have and the things that they share with me today, I was not thinking that same way when I was that young. I wasn't thinking that way till I was in college. And now they're in high school having these thoughts and sharing these ideas with me. And I'm like, wow, you guys are so advanced and ahead. And I want to, we want to give them a hard time because what we see as parents is TikTok and video games, and we see these things that seemed like wastes of time or wastes of energy or, carelessness. But in actuality, with the stuff that they're sharing with me, I'm like, maybe they know more than I do, so that's something that my parents have always given me, is freedom and flexibility and the ability to make my own choices. And they've always respected it and been incredibly supportive. And I'm grateful for that, because now that's how I treat my children as well. So we're very close.
Well, one of the answer to what they know that we didn't, it's called exposure. Mm-hmm. It's called marketing. It's called branding. It's called TV. It's called technology. It's called cell phones. It's called computers. It's called the brain never goes off and they're never finished being fed stuff. Mm-hmm. The question is, what are they maintaining? What are you or working with? But that's the answer. I hear parents say how smart their kids are. Your kid's not smart. Your kid's exposed. Mm-hmm. Now, in my definition of smart is bring me A's, bring me B's. I'm all about education. So if your kids going to school, bring you A's and B's, and then they know how to work all the computer gadgets, that's all well and good. But they're still children. Mm-hmm. And there's still so much that we as adults need to teach them. Let's get to your first question. And your first question is, Miss Cristin Ludlow, what do you think makes a good parent?
Oh my goodness. There's a lot that goes into that. For me, what like a dynamic of parenthood that's important to me, that I hope that my children see in me, because of course you're a provider, you're a protector, you're all of those given things. You're a friend, you're a confidant, you're all of those things. But what I really hope that my children see in me is as a teacher, I guess you could say. They'll come to me and they'll ask me a lot of questions about a lot of things. And that's something that I'm incredibly grateful for, because all of the basic things, providing for them and protecting them and all of those basic things, I know that they're taken care of and they have that. And so it means a lot to me that then they feel comfortable enough coming to me and sharing with me the hard things and the things that most people will hide from their parents. They'll talk to me very openly about. Because I'm not going to shame them. If they're bad decisions, then there's going to be consequences of it. There are going to be things they're going to have to deal with. And so I'm really grateful that they see me as like a leader and a teacher, and they come to me for advice and wisdom and guidance in their lives. That's something that's special, because I heard once that if you're too big to do the small things, you're going to be too small to receive the big things. And when your children are coming to you with these things and you're like, I'm too busy, I have this and this and this and this going on, and we're too busy to listen to these small things, well, then when the big things happen, then they're not going to come to us. They're going to feel like my parents don't care, or they're too busy, or they'll go to friends, or who, like you said, the internet or whatever else, to try to get answers. So to me, I think that's part of being a good parent, is having a relationship where you can have hard, honest, open conversations with your children. There's nothing more devastating to me. It makes me tear up even just thinking about it, when these parents, these children make these irreversible decisions, these permanent choices, and the parents say, I had no idea. Like I never saw it coming. And that just breaks my heart.
Yes.
And so I try to always keep my communication open with our kids, so they feel comfortable sharing with us those hard, challenging, difficult, dark things. Because I don't ever want to be in that situation where I just like, what? I was so busy with life, I never saw it coming, you know?
But you said all of that in one word: communication.
Mm-hmm.
It's a word that is so overlooked, so disrespected, so stamped on in society. And maybe it always has been. As you know, I'm like you, I don't have a problem with that. But when it comes to children and relationships, having children, being a parent, being a wife, being a girlfriend, it's all relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And how we communicate in our relationships, more often than not, creates a better relationship, right? And that's what you said. So your next question is, explain, and this is all again with your parenting, explain an unexpected challenge.
Well, for me, I was a huge tomboy growing up. So I was always playing sports and like hanging out with the boys and doing all of that. And I never babysat. Like my children's diapers were the first diapers that I ever changed in my life. And I know there's a lot of girls that grow up babysitting and doing all of that type of stuff, and that just wasn't me. So when I first had my kids, a lot of moms will talk about this moment, of like, right when I looked into your eyes, I knew that, they have this fantasy, this magical moments when their children are first born and they hold them for the first time, and the first time they do this and the first time they do that. Well, I didn't have that same connection with either of my babies when they were born. Don't get me wrong. I loved them. Like I fully loved them, but that adoration, or that those magical moments, I never had that with them. And I just lumped it up to, oh, well, that's because like I never had babies. Like I never played with babies, I never took care of babies, so I didn't know what to do, and I was just learning all of that. So that didn't allow me to enjoy it. And it wasn't until my daughter was actually 3 years old. So my son, they were born 17 months apart. And when my daughter was 3, all of a sudden things started changing with me and how I viewed both of them. I did start to feel more of that adoration. I did want to spend more time with them. Like I never wanted to spend time with them. It wasn't like that's all I want to do is be a mom. I was working, I was focused on career, I was doing all these other things. And at that point, my marriage had crumbled. When my daughter was about 2 is when it really started getting bad. And I was just unhappy. I was unsatisfied. It was a depression is what it really was. Now, in hindsight, I was depressed. And so I was looking at, well, what in my life might be making me feel depressed, and assigning it to different things. And it wasn't until my daughter was about 3 when I was already divorced and everything, and it started fading off. And I realized that I actually had postpartum, but I didn't have the type where you want to do harm. I just had the type where you feel very unattached.
Mm-hmm.
And once those hormones around when she was about 3 years old is when they started to go away.
Mhm.
By the time she was 5, I was a completely different person. So at that time, my son was 6 and my daughter was 5. I was a completely different mom. All I wanted to do was be around them. They were my focus. All I wanted to spend time with them. I just stare at them. I absolutely adored them. But I didn't have that the first couple of years of their lives. And so that's something that I hope women, I want women to be aware of, because I didn't know what it was. And so I assigned it to various places in my life where there were no problems. It's like I created problems because I had these feelings and these emotions. So it must be coming from something in my life, not realizing it was just hormones. It really was just hormones.
Did you not ask either your mom or a doctor? You just ingested it yourself and inhaled it and thought it was you.
For
And that's what. So when I saw your bio and we published it or posted it, that is something, and you're the first woman so far to come on, a mom, to talk about postpartum depression. Again, when I say on this show every week, motherhood is another other. I mean, that's the phrase I always use. And there's so much that goes in with giving birth and having a perfect child, or having the mother come out, like you said, and oh my God, and this baby is, no, hormones plays a big part in all of our female lives.
Right.
But postpartum depression goes along with giving birth.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the women that are out there listening, if you are maybe going through it now, the fact that someone like yourself, didn't even think to ask a doctor or to ask your mom or to ask another female. See, that would have been me though. I would say, did you get this? Did you feel like this when you had you? Because I'm this question. But someone, as well as I know you, and it never dawned on you to think, it's not simply, it's my hormonal imbalance.
Right.
So, ladies, if you're anywhere in a situation right now feeling like this, have felt like this, no, it's not you. No, it is something that's just biological and physical, of giving. Let's get to the next question. The next question is, does your child or children have more of your qualities or your partners?
So it's hilarious what happened, because my son is a spitting image personality and character and just tendencies. He is his dad. And he's like a total alien to me. I just don't understand him at all. And it's so much fun, like learning from him. Because he is just like his dad. Even when he was a baby, he would do weird things, and his grandma would say, "Oh, his dad used to do that when he was little." And I was like, "What? I had no idea." And then my daughter is a spitting image of me. She's like a mini me. We're like almost exactly the same. So it's really funny how it worked out. Of course, they each have some of the traits from, my daughter has some of her dad's traits and my son has some of my traits, but overall the son ended up being just like his dad and the daughter ended up being just like her mom. So it's so funny and interesting how that, I almost wish I would have had a third just to see what would have happened, how they would have.
When I put that question on the list, it's for me, and I laugh at myself, I'm entitled. Again, it doesn't matter that I didn't want kids, but when I was dating, and the few times that I think, well, what qualities does he have? And my kid might have. I had one that was close. I had two that was close, but then they had family members that I'm not kidding. So it does amaze me. Yeah, I think about everything. I just personally think those are, for me, something that you may want to give some credence to, especially if they're way out there and they have a lot of bad, let's say, behaviors or habits. I do like to say to the audience and to people, when we're having kids, it's not just the two of you, it is the recessive genes, and they can go far back, and someone you've never met. So the grandmothers of the father side, especially if it's just like the dad, And then sometimes it's just too damn late.
Yeah.
Yes, you can stuff that back in there and say, oh, what was I thinking? Real quick, I had a woman years ago. I was in New Orleans, minding my business. People talk to me, and this lady started talking to me about her son's feet. I didn't know this woman, how big they were, and the father wasn't taking care of his business. And he's growing in leaps and bounds. And I forgot how tall she told me the kid was. And I said to her, well, ma'am, how tall is the father? And he was basketball size, 6'6", 6'7". And I said to her, well, what size did you think your son's feet were going to be? I mean, and again, for me, that's huge. I would love to talk to Shaquille O'Neal's mother and say, what size was his father? Because I don't know if anybody knows about Shaquille. We know about his stepfather, right? But somebody had that size. It's some recessive, right? But okay, let me get to the last question because I want to be respectful of your time. The last question is, this is a cute question. I want to tell you the questions you've asked today. So far, none of the other guests have asked any of the questions that you've asked. So thank you. Of course you did. What was the hardest age? And you can take them separately, or if it was the same age for both. What was the hardest age?
For me, obviously, it was when they were babies. That was really, really hard for me. I found myself in this place where I couldn't wait till they were at the next phase. Like I couldn't wait till they can feed themselves or sit themselves up or walk on their own, or because you do everything for them. So I'd be like, oh, I can't wait till they can like hold their own head up. I can't wait till da 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 da. And so I was always like waiting for that next milestone to happen. So it was something less that I would have to do, instead of enjoying like, oh, they're completely, enjoying it all. And so that was really, really hard. I can't wait till they can go to the bathroom by themselves. I don't have to change these diapers, or, they're out of the car seats and just in the regular ones where they can just strap their own selves in. And so that's something that was really, really difficult for me. But I was
a woman who gives me the impression that she's got the patience of Job.
Yeah, now. Fast forward 16 years.
And how old are your children today?
They're 16 and 17 now. And I was 100% meant to be a teenager mom. Like I love like the junior high and teenage years by far have been my favorite. I love every minute of it and I enjoy them so much. And it's just such fun ages for me as a mom. So all I had to do was make it through like the elementary baby years. And then now I'm at the good part.
I had a girlfriend on here the Sunday of our marathon show. And she said, her and her husband split up. She got him a babysitter. And she told the babysitter, you stay around until his brain starts developing.
Yeah.
I don't want anything to have to do with baby. And you sound very
was. And, now I think it'll be more fun when I have grandchildren. Now it'll be a lot different, but when I first had them, I was like, oh goodness, it was kind of like the pregnancy, like, okay, come out, like next thing. And so now I'm at a place in my life where I enjoy all of the moments, which is nice.
Well, I would think, and you can confirm, pregnancy is there's just so many unknown variables. And when, let's say, immature or young women are having babies, they're having babies. That's why the fear and fantasy question that I throw in there. I want to buy Pink this, and I want to buy her dresses, and I want to buy him baseballs as well. It's so much more than that. And if society at large could just give a little bit more consideration to having irresponsible sex, or once you do, understanding the ramifications, the undertaking that goes along with giving birth. It's a very, again, I said it this morning, it has got to be the most important job, bar none, in the entire universe. Bringing another human being into this world and then giving them a life, giving them love, compromising and sacrificing yourself for the betterment of someone else. I just get tired saying those words. Oh my God. I mean, It takes so much for me to take care of me. I just couldn't imagine I'd have to do this with someone else.
Right.
So I thank you. Your fun question. Now, I don't know if I changed it because I changed my questions, but here goes. This is the one I'm asking you. Oh, this is a good one for you, whether you like it or not. What trait do you like most about yourself?
Huh?
I don't know if that's I changed my questions and I don't know if I sent you out the new ones, but go
Yes,
for it.
you did, and that was not it.
That wasn't it. Okay. Okay. Stop. Do you remember which one it was?
Yeah,
Then go ahead and answer. Which one was it?
it was question 6.
And
I don't.
what was it at that time?
I don't remember. It was in the new list. It was question 6.
Oh, well, that is it, babe. What trait you like most about yourself?
Wasn't that one? New fun questions. Oh, it was pick one: being world-class attractive, a genius, or famous for doing something great.
That was what I would have picked. Okay, so that's number 7. Which one? All right, answer it.
Definitely famous for doing something great.
I knew that answer.
That is what drives me. That's why when you asked if there's one trait about myself, that's what I would say it is my pursuit for significance, I guess you would say. Whatever that looks like, because it's not just success, or wealth or all of that. It really is, I'm really driven by significance. And that's why I'm a lifelong student. I'm a lifelong learner because there's always so much more that's available, the abundance everywhere. So
that's interesting. I use that phrase. I use that phrase about myself all the time. Mm-hmm. I'm a lifetime student. Mm-hmm. If we stop learning, we stop growing, we stop giving, all of the above. Okay, so to sum up, parents had you young. They supported you. You and your husband knew each other for a while. It wasn't like you got into it and dove in and didn't plan anything. Brought them here, gave them more than a fair share and a fair shake at life. That's the parents that I like to bring on here and celebrate and applaud the efforts that you've done, not just for yourself and your household, yes, for their futures, but for all of our futures. Right. I make a joke that I don't want anybody hit me on the back of my head, so now I know it shouldn't be your kids trying to snatch my bag. And those we don't want anybody. We don't want anybody. I watch the news in the morning and my heart sometimes I really just cry at some of the things that these kids and people do to one another, especially young people, because nobody told them different. No one gave them the love and the explanation and the communications and the consequences of their actions, the education. As I said, I thank you. I thank you. You are just now one of my many wonderful guests that's been on here. You're out there, out and about all the time. I need to have Kurt. I want more men. I'd like to have more dads on here as well. While you're out and about, you're talking to someone, if you know their character and again, we're not going to say what I always say about the ass and drugs. Give them my name and number, folks, if you're listening. And you'd like to be on the show and you are doing your job and now you know what that entails, you can reach me at cozyupandpayattention@gmail.com. We are live every Tuesday at 2:00 on Facebook. You can then see our show on YouTube at Cozy Up and Pay Attention or PR Connections Radio. Every show we've ever done will be there, even when I stop breathing. Isn't that something? I'm going to haunt folks. It's great. Cristin, I love you. You know I do. I appreciate you. I respect you. And I'm glad to call you a friend.
Likewise, folks, I love you too. Thank you for putting this together. It's extraordinary. You're an extraordinary human.
Oh, thank you. And what I'd like to end the show with is sometimes in life, and a lot of times in life, when we know better, we do better. And with those words, I'll see you at 5:00 and I'll see you next week at 2:00. Have a